Hey there, excuse me. Hey there, it's Kathy with Be Creative with Kathy. And as promised, I did a little bit of research into the Beauty of Friendship bundle. That's this stamp set and this die. I think I mentioned that, I've had this die set and stamp for a long time, haven't done any videos that I can recall. Although now that I think about it, I think I did stamp a tree video a long time ago. I'll see if I can't find that link for you. But I thought I would show you what I discovered this weekend. I did not near as much planning as I had hoped to, but I do have a couple ideas that I want to share with you on this. But did I mention the die set is retiring, the bundle is retiring, but the stamp set will be in the new catalog come May 3rd, just so you know. Let me show you what the dies. I did a little bit of die cutting here, and I have a bunch of, well, it's like a big mess over here. But let me show you what the tree dies, this die here, this one here, and this one here, what they can do. So one, like the branch or the trunk, cuts out a piece that looks like that, which I think is really pretty on its own. And then you have this big die here that's like a single cut die that cuts out something that looks like this, which would be like the base of your tree. And then you have this inside piece here that would cut out something like this. So there we go. Then the other ones, this one, and this one, excuse me, darn it, cut out the images in the stamp set. And then of course you have those two greeting dies, and if you watch my videos, you've seen me use this long skinny one a bunch, and then there's this one too. Okay, but let me show you what I came up with. I think how you would put the tree together if you were, and there's lots of different options. So you could just take this plain background, you lay your tree on top of there, and then just take a plain, well, this die cut one like this, and then look, you have a pretty tree, I think, just like that. Then you take one of those little birds, and add a little bird on there. Look how cute, you have just a plain tree. Now when you bring the designer series paper into it, and let me find the name of that, because this designer series paper is just amazing, and it's called the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper, and it coordinates with those trees. So if you bring some of those patterns in, and let's start this way. So you have this, I guess it's rich raspberry, just like a fall kind of pattern. Now look how pretty your tree could be if you brought in some of those, and I only have one for the front. Let's change it up a little bit, and we'll take one into the back. So the designer series paper looks like this, and I cut it out, and you'd lay the tree on top of there like that, and then maybe you lay something like this on top, and now look how pretty your tree is. Again, you take a little bird there, another part of the die set that cuts out a little bird facing both ways, and then you'd have a little tree like that. So there's a lot of stuff that I think, a lot of trees, a lot of different plans. Here's another one. I think this one's one of my, well, this one might be my favorite, but I like this background for the tree too. Makes a really pretty tree. I thought I cut more of the front patterns, but I guess I didn't. But you get the gist of what the die set can do. So we are going to make a card. And oh, I forgot to bring Amy swap. Amy sent me a swap, and I think it's called a diagonal easel card, and that's what we're going to make with all these pieces and parts today. I have another card to show you. Let me just show you that one real quick. Now this one, this is using that stamp set. I stamped the tree trunk here, and then I stamped the tree trunk, the tree tops, I guess, and the tree tops in this two-step stamping, and then I use the die cut here to cut the top out and then piece it back together, and then that designer series paper in the back. I think that's a really pretty and very simple card, but I like how you can take and layer them back together. So I stamped the trunk on the cardstock and then layered that tree top that I cut with the dies out, although you could cut the tree trunk out too and layered it on there. But that was just a little bit of me playing, having fun. And so let me show you the card that we're going to make that I cased from Amy Swap, which looks like this. And then when you stand it up like this, and then it sits on someone's desk and looks like this. And then of course I'd write my little message right here, and that way they'd have it all the time, whoop, on their desk, knowing that I'm thinking of them with my hugs and kisses or whatever I would send them in my message. So let's go ahead and make this card together. And then if we still have time, if I still have enough brains left, I'll show you another card that I'd like to just finish up that I saw online. So I'm going to start with a piece of early espresso cardstock. This is just a half a sheet, so it's 4 1/4 by 11. I'm going to score it in two ways. I'm going to score it first in half at 5 1/2. So I have my paper here lined up at 5 1/2, and that's me just talking to myself. And then I'm going to use the lighter blade of my paper trimmer and just score that there. Now, just to make sure that I scored in the right place for the next part, I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half. Get my bone folder there. Now I want to score from this corner down to this corner. And I usually have to do it just like that so I can remember. From this corner down to this corner. So I'm going to just line that up in my paper trimmer. Line it up with this little groove here. Make sure it's kind of straight. It's probably never going to be perfect because, well, let's face it, I'm not perfect. But we'll just score that there. And now we have that piece that folds this way on our card front. So then I have two pieces of that designer series paper. I have one in the wood grain and I have one in that kind of blotchy green, kind of reminds me of the grass. And we need to cut that so that it matches our card front. So these measure 5 1/4 by 4 landscape. So they're going to go on my card like this. But I'm going to take both of those and I'm going to cut them from corner to corner. Now, well, let me hurry and cut them corner to corner. And if you're stamping with me, wait, you might want to see what I do next before you cut yours, because I am going to just cut them both here at the same time, right there in half. Okay, but say for instance that you're using a paper that has a top and a bottom, because now you look, I have enough to make two cards, right? But I want this one on the top corner all the time, and I want this one on the bottom corner, to where you see if I want to do it again, I had to flip this one over. So if you have a one that has a top and a bottom, you can't really do this. You'd have to have non-directional paper, which is what I would call this one that looks like this. And I hope that made sense, and I just don't want you to waste paper, and that's why I tried to explain it to you. But so now I have my pieces here. I want to put these, this one here is going to go on the top here, like that, and this one's going to go on the bottom of my cardstock like that, right along that score line. So I'm going to bring in my silicone mat because I think it's easier to get those corners with my silicone mat and just some tape runner. And I am going to just run tape right off the corner and then just take that adhesive and fold it back so it's on the right side of my paper, or really on the back side of my paper, not on the front. I'm going to do the same thing with this corner, because I want to make sure that my corners stay down. I don't want those like popping off when I'm trying to put in the envelope, or even floppy, I guess. I want them really adhered down. So this one's not so hard. Let me just go like that. And then I am going to put some adhesive, along the edges. So when I put it down, it really stays well. Okay, so let's take this one. This is going to go at the bottom here. And in fact, I'm even going to fold it up like this so I can see where that, you see it's sticky now, where that fold line is. And I'm going to try to center it here, get the edges the same, or the borders the same on either side. It's going to go flush right here against this score line, but there, I think that looks pretty good, just like that. Now let's do the same thing with this top piece, this wood grain right here. I'm just making sure that there's no sticky part on the front of my card. I don't want the front of my card to have any sticky on it whatsoever. But like I said, I want those corners to stay nice and flat. So a little bit here along the edges, making sure, yep, there's no sticky on the front. And then I'm going to put this one down, and I'm going to fold it again like this so I can see that score line. And put it and try to get those borders along the sides here to be straight and look nice. I think I did pretty good on this one. I don't think I did this good on the last one. And now last thing, making sure there's no sticky. And now I have a front of my card that looks like that. Okay, so then with the scraps, after you cut your paper, you'll have about a 2-inch scrap. I don't know if this is it. I have a bunch of this paper laying around. So when you have a piece like this, I want to just tear it down, because on the inside, and let me see if I can find a white piece here. Yep, here's just a piece of basic white, in fact a couple of them. That's going to be the inside of my card. But I want to lay down a piece of designer series paper on there, so that I have a little bit of decoration to the inside of my card. So when you're taking a piece of designer series paper, see how I have this white on here? Make sure that you take it. Now I'm going to tear this along, I don't know, so it's about 1 1/4 inch wide. But if you take your designer series paper and tear down, you don't have that white. That's why I have it here, is because I tore down the last card. But then you have the green and not the white. I hope that makes sense. And then you have a nice strip. In fact, this one's kind of wide. I'm going to make him a little bit smaller here. And hopefully he's not perfect. I don't want him perfect. I want him a little bit better than that, though. Come on, Kathy. There, I think that looks pretty good. Like I said, I just want a torn piece that I can attach to the inside now. So I'm going to take this piece and line it up with this one. Now, if you wanted to stamp on the inside, I suggest you do it before you put your designer series paper down there, just in case you have a little bit of a, I don't know, a mistake and have to turn your paper over. Then you don't have to start over. And I don't know if you noticed here, but look, my designer series paper is cut just a little bit smaller than my white paper. I want to be sure and get rid of that, so I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer and I'm going to cut them down so they're the exact same size. Thank goodness I had my paper trimmer with me. Okay, so now I have my inside. I'm going to go ahead and just put the inside of my card right there on the inside. And so far, so good. We've got a good thing going here. So now my card looks like that. Then we just need to decorate the front, put something like a little stopper up here. Hold on, I got a sticky part there that shouldn't be there. Okay, so now we're going to bring in those trees, all these little bits and pieces. And I think this time I want to take the back of my tree is going to be this, I don't know, this foliage I'm going to call, I think it's really pretty, that color. And I want the front to be this color. So I'm going to bring in my tree trunk here. As I flip, everything is not cooperating, coming loose from other pieces. But there, now I got a tree trunk. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, and I think you've seen me do this 100 times. Wait, I think this side is cleaner. I'm going to just take some liquid glue. And I'm going to take my sticky dauber, which is just a dauber that I only use for glue. He's sticky like all the time. And I'm going to just tap on my tree trunk here, or really the top of my tree branches, and just get some glue on there. Don't slide on top of each other. Well, I think I can fix that one. Doesn't take a lot, we just need a little bit. I'm avoiding this area here because I think this area is going to be off of our tree top here. Yep. I'm going to bring him down so he looks about like that. Now let me put it on some white paper so you can see. Brown on brown is hard to see, but look there, now I have my tree trunk onto that tree topper there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the glue with this piece. I'm going to try to find a clear piece or clean piece of my silicone mat. Bring in some more of that liquid glue. And that sticky dauber thingy like this. And then I'm going to just daub a little bit. Now I probably could have just put liquid glue right on there because this piece is pretty big. And I already got it sticky, might as well just go ahead and use my sticky dauber and get it down there good. So then I'm going to line this piece right there on top of my tree. And now look how pretty my tree looks. So I think the bottom line is, if we buy this die set, you might as well get the bundle now and get the designer series paper with it, because look how pretty that designer series paper is. And remember, it is on the retirement list, the designer series paper and the die, so you got to get it before they sell out or before May 3rd. So now let's do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to bring in some early espresso ink. And in the stamp set, they have this little blotch right here that, to me, that's where your tree is grounded from. Trees don't just float in the air. So I'm going to just take some of that early espresso with that little blotch. I'm going to stamp it off. I want it a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to stamp it down here, right here at the very edge of my paper. See if I can get my head in there. And then it looks just a little bit, I don't know if you can even see it, but to me it makes a huge difference having that little, what I keep calling blotch. I think it's like a mound of dirt that my tree's going to go in. So then I want my tree to go here. Now if you notice, right, my tree is going to be a little bit too big for my card front. So I am going to take my paper snips and just trim off the least amount of tree that I can, because I really like that trunk down there, then like that. Okay, so now I know that I only want to adhere my tree to the bottom part, or this bottom triangle. So I know I only want to do it to about there. So I'm going to even hold it right here, and I'm going to put some liquid glue here, making sure that I don't go too far up. So I have glue where I don't want it. Come on, there we go. I hope that made sense, but we don't want to have any adhesive on this top brown part or the wood grain part, so that our tree will stand up when we open our card and won't stick to this piece. So let's see how I did. Let me just hang that, hold on that too for a second. And I did think about making the trunk out of this same wood grain, but I think the designer series paper is a little less, well, it's a little more flimsy than our heavy cardstock. So I made sure to do the trunk out of the cardstock, and that way, look, now our tree, let me hold it this way so you can see, but when you go like this, now our tree stands up nice and tall. And even the back of the tree, well, it doesn't look the best, but it doesn't look bad. So if you see the back of the card, it still looks nice too. Okay, a little bit more stamping. I'm going to bring in one of those white tags from the die set. And this time I'm going to bring in my foam mat for two reasons. One, because it's easy to see the white on the gray. And two, because it's going to give our photopolymer a little bit of cushion, so I get a nice image here on my stamping. This again is that early espresso ink, and I'm going to just ink up this thinking of you. I'm going to try not to get my head in the camera, but I really want it straight, so I'm really going to look at the bottom of the thinking and you and line that up with the bottom of my tag. Now you know that normally I would say you stamp first and then die cut, and then you can get it centered and straight. But since this stamp set is photopolymer, I have more luck doing my die cutting first. Go figure. I can't figure out why. If you can figure out why, you have to let me know, because I can't figure it out. Another well, I'll talk about that later in the video. Let me just keep going here, because I want to comment and ask you a question that maybe you can answer for me later. So on the back of this, I'm going to just take some dimensionals. Let's see here, I have some black bitty dimensionals. Let me tell you a little bit about my black bitty dimensionals. So when you order black dimensionals, you get a sheet of mini dimensionals and a sheet of standard dimensionals. Well, I use less mini dimensionals, first of all, because you get a gazillion, and that might be a little bit of exaggeration on a sheet. So I have loads and loads of mini black dimensionals. So if you place an order with me in the month of April, along with your thank you card and your trinket, depending on the size of your order. Well, the trinket depends on the size of your order. The mini dimensionals do not. So along with your thank you card, I'm going to send you a sheet of mini black dimensionals. Just because, like I said, I have so many, I would like to share them with you. So there, I put that little thinking of you right there. And then we need something of color in our little tree. So I have the little birds cut out in Bumblebee. I have the little birds already cut out here in, and I have one in Balmy Blue, but maybe we're not gonna find the Balmy Blue, because that's what I did on this card, was I used the little Balmy Blue. Now in here, I did use the old olive background, and I use a piece of that designer series paper for the front of our tree. But since I changed it up, well, let's just use this little Bumblebee bird right here. And I'm just going to use a simple glue dot, put him down right there. Let me grab my take a pick tool. I seem to have more luck picking him up and placing him than with my fingers. So we have our little bird. What if we just put him right there? And there we go. So that's cute for the front of our card. Now we need the little stopper like I have here. And at first I thought about using these brushed metallic. I think these would look really nice. So if you have those on hand, or really anything would probably work. But then it dawned on me, we have these little pebbles. What are these called? The Pebble enamel shapes. Now I'll tell you a secret, these are in the mini catalog and they are not carrying through to the annual catalog. So if you want some of these, I suggest you get them now. But I'm going to use a couple of these little brown pebbles. Ooh, almost bent my tree. And I'm going to figure, I want my card to stand up at, I don't know what angle this is. Is that a 90%, 90-degree angle? So I'm going to just take one, and I think I'm going to take one of these big brown ones right here. Stand my card up where I want it, and then put that little pebble right there. And believe it or not, let me fold my card again. That little pebble will hold that card up like that. Okay, so then, but I do want to put another pebble just to give it some more leverage. So I think I'm going to take one of these long skinny ones, and I'm just going to place it back here behind it with just a itty bitty area between. Enough room for my cardstock. Oh, I put it too close. There we go. Now I can move it over. So about like that. Let's see how that works. And then, come on. Yeah, there. Okay, let's get, I think I need to fold it here. It does stay. My other card does. We just need to make sure that it folds. There we go. Look how easy that was the second time. But look how cute that little card would stand up. And like I said, you could write your message right here. If you had a secret message, you could put it up here. But I would write something to the effect, I'm thinking of you, love you, hope you're okay, miss you, whatever right here. So when it's sitting on their desk, they could just read that at all times. So that is the angle easel card. I believe that's what it's called. I have to look at Amy's card. And when you watch my swap videos, I'll be sure and save Amy's card there, because right now I meant to have it with me, but I don't. So that's that card, and I've already showed you this card. Let me show you one more card, and this card I haven't finished. I saw the idea on Facebook or Pinterest. It was probably on Pinterest, and I wished I knew the lady's name so I could give her credit. So if you're watching this video and you're like, hey, that was my card, please leave a comment so we can all give you kudos and tell you how nice and cool your card idea is. So this is what I call paper piecing, or embedding, because this piece is going to lay inside of this, if that makes sense. So I took a piece of designer series paper, I put a sheet of the adhesive sheets on the back of it, and then I took that die that looks like this, the tree trunk, and I cut that out. So now my piece is still in here. Let's see if we can get it out easily. There we go. Just a little tap there, and looky there, you have that tree trunk that's stuck in there. Now this little piece right here, let me put it here so you can see this little piece right here. I saved it. Oh my gosh, I saved it forever. And it was right here. Now I think when I tap my tree, it's got to be around here somewhere. So as we put it, oh, there it is right here. I'm going to turn it over so I can see it. There it is right there, because we're going to need that little piece that goes in there also. Oh, and then I see this little piece here. We might as well hang on to that. Otherwise, if I lost that piece, I would just put my greeting over that little piece. But here, what she did, or what I learned, let me move these out of the way, is I have a piece of Bumblebee cardstock as my card base. Same thing, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to take my designer series paper and take the backing off of that adhesive sheet. Now, if you have questions about adhesive sheet, I know I have other videos out there, but it's just a sheet of adhesive that's double-sided. You lay one side on your paper, then you run it through the die cut machine, and then you peel this back off, and it turns your paper, any piece of paper, into like a sticker. And look, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a little piece right here that I'm going to try to get off without tearing my cardstock or sticking. Now it's all going to stick to me. Hang on. There we go. Sticky stuff, that adhesive sheet. Okay, last piece. And a couple more here. Now I'm going to take this piece of designer series paper and just lay it down there. Now this is a piece that's 5 1/4 by 4, just your basic layer that goes on your cardstock or on your card base. Usually let me make sure I don't get that crooked, and lay that just like that. Then this piece was, I did the same thing to this wood grain. That's how I got this piece. I'm going to take this and take that adhesive sheet off the back. And I'm going to just start with like 2/3 of it. I'm going to take this piece and then lay it in there so that my top isn't sticky, because it still has that adhesive backing on there. And this way I can lay it in. I can't lay it down and talk at the same time. Then I'm going to take that part in there. I'm going to take this piece off, being careful that I don't tear my designer series paper. Let's see if I got it all off. Nope, there's one little piece over here that still has the backing on. There we go. And just lay him down. And now it's like flush. The card doesn't have any pieces sticking up, and look how cool that is. I think that's a very cool technique right there. Then we're going to take this little piece. And which way does it go? Does it go? Yep, it goes this way. And I'm going to lay this down here like this. Now you can see that there's 2 little pieces, or maybe 3, that I'm missing right here. I'm not going to worry about those. I'm going to just make sure that I cover those with my greeting or something like that. So let's see if I can finish this card. I have an idea. I haven't done this before, so let's just see if it works. This might be a nightmare, or this might be really fun. But I have just a piece here. This is, what color is that? Garden green. And I have some of our foam adhesive sheets. Now this is like a dimensional, but the whole sheet is just one big dimensional. I do like this stuff. I don't use it as much as I should, and I need to get back in the habit. But I'm going to take this and just now this is the backing. Well, really the backing on both sides. But I'm going to take and fold this down and just lay. I don't think my cardstock, oh, maybe it is as big as I thought my cardstock was a little bit smaller than that. But lay that down on my cardstock and then just give that a good press so it's nice and stuck on there. I am going to take my paper snips then, which now I have lost. Here's my paper snips, and trim off that extra. And then I will save this piece for just a little job I might have at a later time. And then I'm going to cut this piece of extra green paper off of here. And now I'm going to take this piece that now this is the garden green that has the whole thing is like one big dimensional. I'm going to take this piece here, is the inside of the tree. Let me hang on, I have some pieces from the last time. I'm going to get all those little pieces out of there. There we go. And then bring in my die cut machine. And just like before, I'm going to use platform number 1, plate number 2, my yucky cutting pad number 3 on the bottom. Lay my paper down there, and then my die on top of that, and then I'm going to lay my second cutting pad number 3 on top, and I'm not even in video, there we go, on top of that, and then I'm going to run it through. Now this is going to be a tight fit, but your machine can do it and run that through. And in fact, you know, I'm going to just run it back through again one more time just for good measure. Make sure it gets nice and cut through. And then we cross our fingers and hope this works. But I think it's going to. That's exactly what these adhesive sheets are made for. So I'm going to take, first see if I can get my die off of there. And you can see that all the pieces are cut carefully. I'm going to take this out. And that adhesive backing is coming off, but that's okay because all I really want is this piece here. Excuse me. There we go. And now I'm going to work on getting all those little pieces out of here. I'm going to use this piece to hold them because they're very sticky. Maybe I should have done this part in advance so you don't have to watch this, but on Facebook Live this might be hard to watch. On YouTube, because I do my videos Facebook Live and then I post them on YouTube, so at least on YouTube you can fast forward through this part of me trying to get all those little pieces out of there. We'll see if it's worth it in the long run or not, but I kind of think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a cool effect onto the card. And maybe when you do it, excuse me, this darn cough of mine, I think my husband gave it to me. But anyway, when you do it, maybe do leave that adhesive backing on there and it might be a little bit easier to get those pieces out. Okay, we're getting closer now. Look, I got paper stuck everywhere. When I imagined this morning and making this card, this is not what I imagined that it would be like. But then again, this is how it goes. Hang on, we're almost there. While I'm doing this, I should tell you that if there's ever measurements for my videos, like you want to see the measurements of the cardstock, and sometimes I even have the measurements of the ribbon and stuff like that on there, you can go to my blog, becreativewithkathy.com, and all the measurements, the video, the supply list, everything is on there. Oh, look in there. Just nice. I just got it done. I have all my pieces out. Now I'm going to bring in this card back in here. And now I'm going to lay, oh, it's totally worth it. Look how, oh, wait, hang on. I have a piece of paper or a piece of foam back here stuck to my, there we go. Yeah, I think it's totally worth it. Look how pretty that looks popped up like that. So then you have this part embedded and this part popped up. If you can see it like that. Look how cool that is. I think that's a really cool card idea. So there you go. So it was worth all of that tedious trying to get all those little pieces out of there. Then I need a little sentiment to put onto this. So I'm going to just grab that little square or die cut size there. And this, I believe in you. Now this was my question earlier. I said I was going to ask you or later. Is I believe in you. Can you tell me when would you send out a card that says I believe in you? I was having a little bit of trouble thinking, you know, what would I send this card out for? Now I have a downline that's going to have an anniversary, and I think I'm going to send her this card because I think the I believe in you and then congratulations on another year of Stampin' Up! Would be a good thing to do. But I would love to hear your input as to what you, who or why you would send a card out that says I believe in you. Hey, and while we're finishing up here, I'm going to bring in the inside of our card. So this is just another basic white that's 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to go ahead and stamp on the inside that tree trunk. The smaller one I showed you earlier that I stamped on the blue and then die cut the tree top. But I'm going to set that like that. And then I do want a piece of scratch paper. This is really bad used up scratch paper, but I'm going to go off the edge and I don't want to go on my silicone mat. Or no, my piercing pad. So then with a little bit of, no, I'm going to do the garden green next. And don't tell me I don't have my garden green ink. Okay, we're going with the Pear Pizzazz because my garden green ink has disappeared. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to just stamp it down and hold it here so it looks like that. And then with that other one, I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz again, only this time to give it a different tone, I'm going to just stamp off. This is another way you can use two different tones since my garden green has disappeared. As soon as we get off the video, it's going to be right there in front of me because that's what they do the best. But look how pretty that tree is. Okay, so we're going to take that and I'm going to just put a little bit of tape runner here and then put this on the inside right here. And look how pretty the inside of that card is. And really the Pear Pizzazz and the two tones with the stamping off turned out pretty good. There we go, little dimensionals. Find some dimensionals here on this piece. And I'm going to just set, whoop, not upside down, and just set that right there, just like that. I think this card turned out really nice, but we need a little bird on there. Let me find another one of those little, can't pick him up, little birds. Well, since I have him on here, I'm going to just put a little daub of, maybe I need to cut another bird. Because I think I want a bird here. Let's just use this Daffodil Delight bird right here. Don't I have two of those? Because I want one facing the other way. There we go. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. And put him. Yeah, and then I think last, I'm going to put my little bird. Let's see what he looks like. If I take my little bird and put him, yep, I think he's going to go right here. Oop. Try to put my, and then it just dawned on me. Let's go back and look at that card that I showed you, this one here. So I took and used those little pebbles along the bottom here, and I think I'm going to do the same thing down here since it doesn't have, I could go ahead and stamp it with the stamp, but I think I'm going to take those pebbles. Now I can't find them. I am terrible organizing. Here we go. So I found the package and not the pebbles. Are they right here on my, yep, they're right under here. Okay. But I think I'm going to take those little brown pebbles again and just add them to the bottom of my tree here. Let's see how this looks. And one more. Yeah, what do you think? So there's my cards. Now I have to finish up this card because this was just the reverse of this one. I am going to do this piece again with the popped up tree front. I think that turned out really nice. And then I do have my two here of the Easel cards. So you'll have to let me know what you think. I think the bottom line is if you get this stamp set and this bundle, you have to do it fast because the die set is going to retire. And I would just suggest you go ahead and get the Designer Series paper, this Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. It is beautiful paper and it just adds so much to your cards. So there you go. You have to let me know what you think. I guess that wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here on Thursday. See you later. Bye-bye.